So I had a PI for my 5 top candidates. I had a transcription of the interview. And the final tool I used is a tool called Crystal Knows, which uses AI to create a disc profile from the person's
Really?
LinkedIn and other online tools. So I had a transcription of an interview, a PI, and a disc profile, which matched the candidates with my disc profile. And so I gave ChatGPT a CRIT, context, role, interview, task. I said the context is I'm hiring an integrator, and I uploaded the job description of the integrator. And I
Right.
explained that this is part of Traction in this great book by Gina Wick. And I said, your role is you're a hiring consultant. You're one of the top hiring consultants in the entire world, and you have expertise in disc profiles and predictive index. And you're going to help me find the right match for my personality and this role and the 10 Golden Rules company. And it's built a lot of knowledge about Jay Berkowitz and the 10 Golden Rules company because I've
Correct.
been using the 4.0, the paid version of ChatGPT.
We do as
And
well.
I said, interview me. Ask me up to 5 clarifying questions before you complete your task. And the questions are fantastic. Do you want this person for a short period of time, or do you want them to be a long-term member of your team?
Right.
Really
So is
intuitive
it a
question.
freelance gig? Is it a short-term gig?
Yeah.
Is it a hybrid, right? Or is it a long-term commitment?
And ChatGPT asked me that question because I asked it to interview me to clarify. And
Right.
finally, the task was to rate the candidates by the criteria outlined in the job interview. And the results were phenomenal. Take your breath away. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this podcast finds you. Welcome to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. I'm Jay Berkowitz, founder of 10 Golden Rules, author of this book, The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And normally I'm the one doing the interviewing on these podcasts, but today I'm being interviewed by Ivy Slater, and this was done for her podcast. But she's an amazing woman. She was a part of our 10 Golden Rules TGR Live conference that we held in March. She'll be back again next March, I hope, because she's awesome. You guys are going to love her. And this is a little different. She's interviewing me. So today you get to hear a little bit more from me. Hope that's okay. And if you like it, do us a favor, subscribe, like whatever podcast vehicle you're listening to, iTunes, Podbeam, on YouTube. Love you for a subscription and a 5-star review. Anyways, here we go with me being interviewed by Ivy.
Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. I am so excited you are joining us during this legal resource podcast series. This is a first time ever, the first time we've done a series. We've done many series around legal, but we have not done a series with all kinds of legal resources. So for those listeners who are about to say, oh, I'm not in legal, I'm going to skip this one, hold it, stay right there. Everything we're talking about today and in this series is applicable to all other industries. Today, we're talking about marketing. We've talked about AI. We've talked about hiring. All of this is important in all industries. We're focusing it on legal because a lot of these people are involved in the legal, but the content itself is helpful. So stay tuned as I introduce you to Jay Berkowitz, who's a dear friend, colleague, and a leader among leaders, somebody that I follow, somebody who I learn from. And I think that's important. I think we're all, no matter where we are in our careers, in our leadership journeys, in our entrepreneurship journeys, we should always be in the journey of learning. Jay is the founder and CEO of 10 Golden Rules, internet marketing for law firms. He also has a 10 Golden Rules podcast, and he's an author of numerous books. He has been in this industry for over 25 years. And Jay, out of politeness to both of us, I'm going to cut it off at 25 for the two of us.
Man.
But welcome. You had a great event, 10 Golden Rules, that I was fortunate to be at. I met great people. And most importantly, I learned. So I always have to ask, and jumping in, how'd you get into this thing? How'd you get into this industry? How'd you get into legal marketing? How'd you get into digital content? Where'd this come from?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the introduction. Maybe next year at the TGR Live conference, you can do my intro because that was one of the best ever.
You got it. I'll be
Thank
there.
you for your kind words. And so I guess I started out, I worked in research and summer jobs, and I met this guy who had an ad agency, and we were doing a project with him. We traveled, and it was like all these guys did was have fun and cover. They were interviewing people about what they thought about TV commercials. It was all really cool. So I went and asked him for a job once I graduated, and he said, "Well, we just lost an account to these guys across town. Go see them." And I got this great job on the McDonald's restaurants account.
Wow. That's one
And
way. That's a hell of a
yeah.
job after college.
So my first job full time, we were actually doing advertising and marketing. We were doing TV commercials, radio, billboards, and this was up in Canada. And then I went on to skip a few steps to be the director of marketing at McDonald's restaurants in Canada, about a $40 million budget. And then I went to Coca-Cola, worked on maybe the longest marketed brand in history. It was amazing. It's very hard to come up with a new idea that they hadn't tried before.
I have to say, following like icons like Coca-Cola in their marketing journeys,
Yeah.
in what they do over the years is an education in itself. And now I know why you're also an adjunct professor at times.
Right. So, anyways, great experiences. And then the internet came along, and I'm working at Coca-Cola, and they wouldn't let us do anything fun with the website. We only played the Coke jingle on the website. And Pepsi had these fun interactive games, and I'm like, we really have an opportunity here.
Yeah.
So I took a job with Sprint as a director of marketing in the early days of internet, getting people their first emails, getting companies their first websites, and parlayed that into a job opportunity in the United States. Thank you to ediets.com, sponsored me into this great country. And we were selling online diets in 2002. And this was very early, in
I was thinking that this is the early days, 2002. That's really, really early digital marketing.
Yeah, Google was in beta. Mark Zuckerberg was in high school. We were spending $40 million running banner ads on MSN, AOL, and Yahoo, and bringing over 100,000 people a day to the website. But we were doing very sophisticated internet marketing. We're doing A/B testing. I produced a new banner ad campaign every week because we were burning out the ads. We were spending so much money. The
A lot of work.
average target, like 92% female, would see our banner ads like nine to 10 times per week. And back
Just
in
so
those
you
days,
know,
yeah,
back in the day, Slater Graphics, my old printing company, our email address was AOL. I saw those ads.
yeah, great.
And I was your female target.
1,000%. And everybody saw them because we were just a huge advertiser. And again, it was the early days and we were spending $40 million.
Yeah.
So I had all this tremendous experience where I got to find out what banner ads got clicks, what landing pages worked. We tried different offers. We tried different sales funnels. We did different website designs, different colors, different emails. We had a huge email list, over 10 million names, and we did subject line tests every day. We were very, very sophisticated.
Unheard of at that time.
Yeah, very sophisticated, very early on.
Yeah.
And I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association to tell our story. And I said, well, I would love to tell our story, and I will give you a bunch of great e-diets case studies, but I also want to build my own personal brand. And so I came up with this concept of the 10 golden rules, because I was always big on priority lists and top 10 lists. Matter of fact, we had a great top 10 list at eDiets, and we were trying to do over 100 projects. And I said, let's focus. And we picked our top 10 list. And the first one was to launch the Atkins diet. We had a deal with Dr. Atkins before he died, and that was unbelievably successful. And then we launched eFit and the Zone diet.
It's okay. I knew people who bought that from you.
Yeah. So the focus was fantastic. And so I loved top 10 lists. And so I wrote the 10 golden rules of online marketing. And I spoke at this Direct Marketing Association. And 5 or 6 people came running up to me at the end and said, we have to hire you as a consultant. And my business was really born right there that day.
Sometimes it takes initiative, which is what you took. You had a vision. It's like, okay, instead of just doing it for this company, I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a personal brand. And there's always, and this is a whole nother podcast interview that Jay and I think I'd love to do with you one day, is talking about developing your personal brand within your business brand. Let's stay on the marketing though today. In making that the bold move, right, of creating 10 golden rules as the title of the speech, and then it created a company that day. How did that transform into what you're doing today, all these years later?
we were a niche agency because back in 2003, people really didn't understand. Like you're only doing digital,
Yeah.
but I knew what I was trying to hire at eDiets. We wanted someone who understood strategy, and that I had the Coca-Cola, the Sprint,
You had the background there from your
and,
from your previous jobs. That makes sense.
and the technology, and obviously I knew how to drive traffic to a website and convert traffic to paying customers in the very early days. So I had what I was looking for. I created that agency, and we grew very steadily, doubling every year, and very, very successful until maybe 6 or 7 years ago, when all of a sudden there was, not all of a sudden, but in 15 years, there was a lot of competition, and there was a lot
Right.
of people who did what we did.
Well, you
So
started as the lone wolf, right?
yeah, there was
Really
probably
building the
very few
road,
agencies. Yeah,
truly building like Highway 66 crossing that, like that. You were creating the path, and everybody's, oh wow, this is good. We got to get into it, and it becomes crowded. And by the way, I'm just going to chime in here. Coming from being a printer 20 years ago and being in a very crowded industry, moving into consulting and coaching, and that was a very, nobody knew it. And now can be, people say, well, it's pretty crowded. Being crowded never ever scares me. It just helps us niche, focus, and do our best. And there's enough
exactly.
business for all. So you were noticing a lot of people were jumping on your road.
I always joke, like walk in a Starbucks and you'd see two kids crowded around a Mac, and they had a social media agency. And literally that's anywhere in the country. So we decided to niche down even further. We looked at our business, and we had about 40% of our business was lawyers. We'd worked with lawyers for 17 or 18 years. And about 40% of our business was seminar and event companies. And the lawyers were much better clients. First of all, they're business people. And second of all, they're really good at paying their bills. And the seminar and event guys, they'd
I
kind
like
of
the
fly
business
into
model.
town, and paying the bills was optional. They just changed their name and come back to town 5 years later. So we decided to go all in with lawyers about 6 years ago, and it's been great. We've tripled the company in that time.
So when I work, I don't work exclusively in the legal field, but I have probably about 70% of my clients are in the legal field. Okay. I will say it is, lawyers are great. They understand the importance of making decisions and executing because it's part of their process and part of their training. When you work with law firms now, are there specific niches now, because we're talking about niching down, niching down, and niching down. So I always have to ask, as you have niched into the legal field and into working with law firms, is there any further niching, or what have you learned?
Well, we have some great clients in other practice areas, and we love it for the variety, but probably 70% of our business is personal injury.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the guys on TV and with the billboards, they have the incentive to spend the money online, and those are our biggest clients.
It's fascinating. I always say I was driving from a client. So for those listeners who don't know, I'm in the New York area, or new to her success story, I'm in the New York area. So for those local in the New York area, I was driving up the Jersey Turnpike from a client. And speaking of billboards and personal injury,
Nonstop.
right? You can almost drive off the road and have a personal injury because of the amount of billboards related to personal injury. So what do you see different? Anything going on in the marketplace that is different or new? What are we seeing in 2025 that the legal profession and people in investing in digital marketing need to know?
Well, I think it's the same in every industry, and it's how AI is affecting the business.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've been spending a lot of time trying to figure out in the last 6 months or so, Google is now showing AI overviews, which are AI search results. It's like a ChatGPT where Google's compiling the answer. And so you don't necessarily have to go to a website to find the answer. So we're in the business of getting people to go to our clients' websites, and this is a really significant impact on the industry. Now, so far, the good news is that there's about 30% of the searches now where Google will show an AI overview. And frankly, there's about 10% of search that's going directly to ChatGPT or another LLM, large language model. So it's definitely upsetting the apple cart. But the good news is that most of those searches are what we call top of the funnel when someone just starts doing the research. So if you have a car accident, your first search might be, do I need a lawyer for a car accident? And those kind of searches generally didn't lead to a conversion to a client signing up because they're just doing initial research. But there is an opportunity to capture those. And we've developed some methodologies to come up in those AI overviews results, because even Google on their AI results and ChatGPT now show links to websites, and they reference their homework, I say, where they show the link to the websites they use to compile the answer. So the way we're capitalizing on that is we're answering a lot of questions in our SEO. Our lawyers are answering questions on video, we're answering questions in blog posts, and we're getting those answers in the form of blogs, YouTube videos to come up in the search results, and people will go to the webpage, watch the video to help answer the question. So we are generating a lot of traffic in this new change, but it's definitely the wild west of search. And I've heard a quote the other day, I think it was Sundar Pichai, who's the Google CEO.
Right.
He said that AI is really like electricity in terms of a major change in society. But think of that. He didn't say it's like the internet. He said it's like electricity, the wheel, the industrial revolution, electricity, and AI, like a much bigger deal than internet. So it's very, very significant how it's going to impact our lives going forward.
I happen to agree. And I think it's a matter of all of us learning how to use AI and how AI can be an asset and not a hindrance. Because if we shy away, we're going to be left behind. And that's important. It's important. I remember every time, like you had the onset of digital marketing, you jumped in early, right? There was digital printing. There was the onset that changed from back in the day from mechanicals to doing things on the computer and creating artwork on the computer. There's always been this evolution. And my true belief is lean in and learn.
Exactly. If you're maybe 80 and you're going to the office just to keep yourself occupied, maybe you don't need to learn AI. Now, you don't need to become an AI company overnight, but I would encourage you, do some experimenting. You got to play around with ChatGPT and AI overviews and some of the legal products that deliver AI solutions to write demand letters for you, do research for you. So it's inherent upon all of us to learn a little bit and not be a Luddite and reject the technology.
I happen to agree with you. Now, let me ask you this. In jumping forward, okay, we're about halfway through the year now that we're doing this legal research series. What are one or two things listeners can do today that we should be learning or asking questions about? And sometimes it's, gee, if I should only ask this, think about the information I'll get as I delve in for those answers, whether it be AI or wherever.
I guess the two answers that come to mind, I touched on a minute ago, is everybody should be answering questions. And the simplest form of that is just keep a list on your desk. And every time a client asks you a question or a prospect, write it down and then answer it in the form of a blog post. Or even better, as I said, do a video. And like our YouTube channel's up over 1 million views now. So
congratulations.
It's incredibly valuable to our business now. It's a great asset that sends us opportunities every single day. Answer questions in the form of a video or a blog post, or even if you're in B2B like yourself and myself, post it on LinkedIn as a LinkedIn article. And then I use the term cascade content. So like a river goes over a waterfall and forms smaller waterfalls and tributaries and little pools of water. It's called cascading. Take that video or that blog post, hire a twin turn, which is a Twitter intern, and you can get young folks who are looking to build their portfolio or just kids looking for part-time work. And for 50 or 100 bucks a month, they'll take that weekly answer and they'll put it for you on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. So you don't have to do the cascading and you don't have to know which side the size the image should be on Facebook and Instagram. But find someone like a journalism student or someone who could do that for you. But all you have to do in a very simple way is answer one question a week. The second tip I'll give you is a very advanced ChatGPT strategy that I've been using that's really fantastic. And it starts.
I have to write it down.
Yeah, to write it
I get
down.
this recording.
This
I can
one's
go
a writer
back.
downer, okay? It starts with the acronym CRIT. And basically what you're going to do is give ChatGPT or any of the tools. You could use Google's Gemini or Perplexity or any of the tools. And C stands for context, R stands for role, I stands for interview, and T stands for task. So I'll give you an example. We run on the EOS operating system, and I am just hired, fortunately, a new integrator in the EOS. So in EOS, you have a visionary.
I was going to say, so in the big picture, right, we have visionaries, right, who come up with all these great ideas. And then we have implementers who take our ideas, break it down into 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10 steps and start knocking them off.
So I'm hiring this very important position, like the chief operating officer of my company. And I had a number of great candidates. And so I asked myself, how can AI do this? How can it help me make the decision? And that's another great question. Always ask yourself, can AI do this? Can I save time? Can I get a first draft? And it's amazing for everything I do now. So for this task, I had a number of tools built. I had interviewed all these candidates and I'd recorded it using a tool called Fathom AI. We're recording today on Fathom AI. And it gives you a summary of the conversation, a transcription, the next steps, the key takeaways. So I used Fathom AI, the Fathom AI recording. We also use Predictive Index, which is a hiring tool, and it's
a
fantastic.
great hiring tool.
Yeah, PI, love it.
It could be PI, it could be a Colby. There's a lot of great hiring tools. Love them.
So I had a PI for my 5 top candidates. I had a transcription of the interview, and the final tool I used is a tool called Crystal Knows, which uses AI to create a disc profile from the person's LinkedIn and other online tools. So I had a transcription of an interview, a PI, and a disc profile, which matched the candidates with my disc profile. And so I gave ChatGPT a CRIT, context, role, interview, task. I said, the context is I'm hiring an integrator, and I uploaded the job description of the integrator. And I explained that this is part of Traction and this great book by Gina Wick. And I said, your role is you're a hiring consultant. You're one of the top hiring consultants in the entire world, and you have expertise in disc profiles and predictive index, and you're going to help me find the right match for my personality and this role and the 10 Golden Rules company. And it's built a lot of knowledge about Jay Berkowitz and the 10 Golden Rules company because I've been using the 4.0, the paid version of ChatGPT.
We do as well.
I said, interview me. Ask me up to 5 clarifying questions before you complete your task. And the questions are fantastic. Do you want this person for a short period of time, or do you want them to be a long-term member of your team? Really.
Is it a freelance gig? Is it a short-term gig? Is it a hybrid, right? Or is it a long-term commitment?
And ChatGPT asked me that question because I asked it to interview me to clarify. And finally, the task was to rate the candidates by the criteria outlined in the job interview. And the results were phenomenal. Take your breath away.
I still want to read this.
Yeah, I'll happily share it with you. So they ranked the candidates in order, and then they had the 5 or 6 bullet points from the job interview and experience with EOS, because some of the candidates were longtime EOS, some of them had just read the book Traction. And it ranked the criteria, 5 or 6 criteria, and it ranked each of the candidates. It said this candidate would be the best for their EOS experience. This candidate would be the best for financial stuff, which I said that this person is going to be my new profit guru, big part of the job. And so it was really a fantastic tool to help clarify my thoughts. It was like common sense, but it was like, took away the agony of thinking about it. It was like, okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, that's person be good for this. And so we got the candidate that I chose and that my team chose and that ChatGPT selected as the best for the job.
So you took my next question is, so did your opinion and the team's opinion and ChatGPT, were they all aligned?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. A couple of my team members had slightly differing views, but we pretty much had the top two or top three candidates out of the top five. One of the candidates would be great, but didn't have a lot of pure EOS experience. So
Yeah,
some of those things were pretty straightforward. Pretty much it verified my gut feeling.
I love it. Let me ask you this before we close. You've been running a company for a long time. You've been in the industry in a long time. What has surprised you as a leader of 10 Golden Rules?
I think a couple things. Right out of the gate, what surprised me was that running a business is very different than being an expert at something. And I
Well
read the book
said.
E-Myth,
And touche.
and E-Myth really, a great book, by the way, The Entrepreneur's Myth.
Great. It's
I
a
was
great book.
lucky to get that in my first 1 or 2 years of business. But essentially, what that book explains is that, like Annie, there was this case study of Annie's pie shop, and I don't think it's Annie, but a young woman who aunt taught her to make these unbelievable pies, and she got so busy, then she had no systems, and then the whole
Yeah,
people were lined up out the
it's
door.
good.
Then quality fell apart. So it talks about building systems, but what it explains is that Annie didn't know anything about standard operating procedures,
Yes.
training, hiring, accounting, marketing, finance, right? But Annie made great pies. So I think that was a learning on the job. The other thing is, I thought that entrepreneurs were a type of person, but I've really come to believe that you can learn to entrepreneur. And I say entrepreneur is a verb. Networking is definitely, you're not a great networker until you learn. And you can learn to be a great networker.
You can.
Ivy and I met through a networking group that I created for very sophisticated B2B networking purposes. And all of these things have been learned in the 23 years that we've had the business.
I happen to love that. And I have to give you a shout out because of that networking group was one of the things that inspired me to do this series because I'm always
Oh,
meeting
great.
so interesting. We were showing up to the group, but the whole idea in networking is doing that follow up and getting to know people. And I was having such great conversations with the people I was getting to know. And I'm like, I want to interview all these people on the podcast. And then I was like, ding, ding, ding.
Podcast
Let's do a
series.
series.
Yeah. And here's the pro tip, just so we don't talk around it to people. Basically, we created a group of 100, it's now like 112 other folks who only sell to or specialize in working with lawyers,
That's right.
based on the principle that if I spend my time networking with a lawyer, I could get one sale. But if I network with Ivy, who has 100 or 200 clients, she could recommend me to 5 or 10 or 20 attorneys who need a new digital agency. So we've formed this group, and it's pretty simple. We just meet once a month by Zoom. And then at all the conferences, we host an event or a breakfast, or we all just get together with each other. And we're helping each other get business. We're doing podcasts with each other. And it's only maybe a year old, but it's been fantastic. A number of the folks came to our conference, TGR Live, and were speakers, and Ivy had a power table. And so it's really a tremendous advanced networking tip that I'll share with you all.
And I love that. It's surround yourself with don't just focus or panic about it. I have to be with people where I'm going to get clients. I have to network, I'm going to get clients. Surround yourself and network with peers and colleagues that have their clients or your clients. It's that circle of influence. It's
Yeah.
COI, circle of
Yeah.
influence. And think about it and leverage that time together. And
Love
more
it.
than anything, enjoy the getting to know people. And that's where I'm going to add. I don't network with groups that I don't like the people. I wouldn't stay in Jay's group, right? I wouldn't have kept getting involved and doing more and more if I didn't say, hey, I'm really loving having these conversations. It's really, I work and network with people I adore, respect, and feel have great integrity in business and in life. And you'll see how aligned you get. And that's how you truly, truly leverage your expertise.
And here's an extension of what Ivy's suggestion, because you've heard us both talk about the power of niching down. And
That's
if you're
right.
thinking of picking a niche, which I'd highly recommend, make sure you spend some time with the folks in the niche. And I'm in a mastermind with 300 other agencies,
Yeah.
and we all focus on only one niche. And when the younger folks in the group are trying to pick a niche, I say, go to the conference, spend 3 days with these guys. because we have very different guys in our group. We have guys who wear ball caps and shorts to the meeting. And then there's 3 or 4 of us who wear a suit jacket, business jacket. And guess what? The 3 or 4 guys who wear business jackets, we all hang out with lawyers all the time. Our niche is lawyers, or there's another guy who only does very high-end accountants. All his clients are accountants. But make sure that if you're more of the suit jacket guy, you don't want to make plumbing as your niche. And you're going to be spending like all your time talking to plumbers. And when you go to a conference, you're surrounded by 400 plumbers. Make sure you're, like Ivy said, you like hanging around with the folks that you're going to be spending your next 5 or 10 years with every waking moment.
I'll say it somewhat succinctly. Be with your people. The people who work for you, the people you feel comfortable with, the people you align with, the people you have common values with, the common other things. Be with your people. And they say you'll never work another day in your life because you'll be doing what you enjoy with the people you enjoy.
And that goes for your clients and your staff and your friends. I think Tony Robbins' line is you can't pick your family, so you got to make do with your family, but pick folks who are going to make your life better, make you happy, and teach you great things.
Absolutely. So, Jay Berkowitz, how can our listeners learn more about you and 10 Golden Rules?
Well, if you like this kind of education and some of these theories, most of them I probably learned from my podcast guests, like Ivy, who's been a podcast guest on the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. And I really encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. And we have over 1 million views on our YouTube channel. And we have all kinds of great content about lawyer marketing. So SEO for lawyers and PPC for lawyers and local service ad strategies. But we also have great content about EOS and finances and YouTube strategies and all kinds of things that aren't directly for lawyers. Rainmaking, networking. So that's just go to YouTube and search for 10 Golden Rules. And of course, if we can help you with your marketing, we're at 10goldenrules.com. And I'm Jay Berkowitz on all the social media.
I love it, Jay. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much, Ivy. My pleasure.
And listeners, this is what I say at this point in the show. Take a deep breath. Jay and I spoke about a lot of things. There was a lot of content that was delivered today. Identify one thing that resonates with you. Jot it down somewhere. It could be, if you're traditional, a piece of paper. It could be your phone. It does not matter. Okay? Just jot it down. And then make that decision of what's the one action you're going to take. You could come back and listen again and again and again to all the Her Success Story podcasts, or check both of our websites out. But most importantly, right now, by showing up today, identify one thing that resonated with you, and then identify an action you're going to take. That is our gift to you. And let us know how it goes. Hit subscribe and share this forward if this was helpful to you. Thank you for joining me today on Her Success Story, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENGoldenrules.com.